Let's walk through developing your team charter together. That way you'll understand the process and it will be easier for your team to go ahead and get your team charter finished. So from the main class site area, you click into people and you get into your team area. And for this purposes, I'm just going to grab one at random. Okay. Now, if you had any announcements that you created, they'd be posted here. We're going to go into pages. I've already copied and pasted the team charter template into each team's area. But in future projects, you'll do that yourself. You'll just click on plus page over to the right, and that will add a page, and then you'll be able to copy and paste into that. But for our purposes, we're just going to click on Team Charter. Now, what you need to do is fill out the Team Charter so that you can set the groundwork. Next week, when we open Module 2, you'll go ahead and complete your charter and add the timeline for completing the tasks within your project. But I wanted you to take a look at the team charter first and set up groundwork, because that's what you would do in a team environment. You'd set expectations. So you click on Edit to get started, and you team charter for and give your team a name. The Lollapaloozas or whatever. Then you select a project manager. And it might be whoever happens to start working on editing this first. It doesn't really matter. For every project in this class, we'll have different managers as much as possible so that everyone gets a chance to have a manager role. Your team purpose, you can either leave that blank at the moment, or you can put in a couple of team purposes. It might be learn the process of setting up a team charter, might be one purpose. But ultimately, your project goal will be to establish understanding of organizational culture. Then you'll set some goals. So completing team charter and understanding the steps involved. Goal 2 might be completing the setup of and you wouldn't enter goal 2 until next week. Goal 2, set up your wiki page for organizational culture. So for right now, you're just getting the groundwork in place. You're making sure that your team members have established who's going to do what, who's going to take that leadership role, making sure everything gets completed on time. So you put your name in, the person who's taking the lead puts project lead, and you make sure you have each other's contact information. You can delete unused rows, click in them, and then here you can see you just delete row. Let's see, there's delete row, and you can just take out what you don't need. The important part of this is this ground rules area. And you just want to make sure that everyone agrees to the basic ground rules. How and when will this team meet? Well, for this project that you have coming up, you may want to meet using a conference or a collaboration. Or realistically, because this is such a simple project, you may just do discussions. That way, nobody has to be online at any specific day or time. You simply share, hey, this is what I found on organizational development and culture. I'd like to share it. And then you're just agreeing and then posting. If you find research as a team, you may decide to post it in your files area. Or you may decide to create new pages and post information there as rough drafts and then gather it all together. With your team meetings, there is no one set format. The more complicated and detail-oriented a project, the more critical it is to have some form of synchronous meeting so that you can agree on some properties within your project early on. But in our case, for this specific project, it's very simple, and I'll go over it before we're done. What kind of norms and ground rules are you expecting? Is everyone expected to get their work submitted by the days assigned? Is everyone expected to adhere to high qualities of in their submissions? I had one person about 3 terms ago that put in a copy of a wiki page as their contribution, and it just didn't demonstrate any effort. And so her team had agreed to high quality of work, and they felt as a team that that didn't meet the criteria. So the person needed to resubmit and come up with something different. And each of these can just be put into the discussion area, and everyone share their input. And then on Sunday, whoever's taking that project lead role, gathers it together, finishes up the team charter, drops the information into it, and then submits it as finished. That way nobody has to meet individually or as a group at the same time. How will you conduct discussions? One line. We will discuss. We will hold our discussions in the discussion board and reach a consensus. If we are unable to reach a consensus, then our team lead will make the final decision, and that way we can get things posted on time. What happens if you do have dissenting views? What if someone doesn't agree? Let's say, for example, the person with the Wikipedia posting felt that was good enough. Then the team would have to determine how they're going to resolve the difference. In this case, the person agreed and submitted something of more value to the team. But had the person disagreed, how did the team want to handle it? How will you hold people accountable for living by their rules and for the task completion? If they fail to perform, you would put in failed to perform, reassign it to someone else. What kind of participation and level of commitment do you expect from one another? Well, you can pretty much tell in a project, especially in this project, that it's not going to be extremely involved. It'll take you less than an hour. So you could put in participation. Expect people to participate in the discussion for the team charter actively so that the final product can be submitted and signed off on by Sunday night by all team members, and that the completion of the project and the development of the wiki page will be able to be completed on time, or better yet, even a couple of hours early. So you expect each person to do at least an hour of research and 15 minutes for posting and 15 minutes of discussion in the discussion board to make sure that everyone is in agreement and cooperation. Will you set supplemental benchmark deadlines early to ensure the team is on task? That's not required, but it's strongly encouraged. Having your team charter finished on Sunday night is cutting it close. There are 4 teams. One team has started a discussion. The other 3 teams haven't done anything yet. So that's a little worrisome. So I encourage you not to wait till the last minute. Ideally, you would set your benchmark date 2 to 3 days at least ahead of time so that you have time to review and reflect on the information provided and are able to follow through. And then potential barriers and coping strategies, more discussion, what might happen or what potentially could arise as your project is going on, and how will you handle it if it does? As an example, what happens if someone drops the class? What happens in number 2, what about team dynamics that you've experienced, and how do they color your performance this time? Have you had team members not perform their tasks, And if so, what kinds of frustrations and how did you manifest those frustrations? And how might you do so differently or the same this time in order to be a productive member of the team? So these things are what I want you to discuss as a team in the discussion area. You can do it face-to-face. You can get together on Skype. You can get together in a conference or collaborate via chat. But it isn't necessary. You can very easily post each of these to the discussion board and ask all team members to share their input. Then the team lead gathers that input, makes it cohesive, posts it into the team charter, preferably by Saturday, and then all team members are asked to review the information posted by, say, Saturday night or Sunday morning, and if any edits need to be done at that time, they can be. That allows for all team members to sign off on what they have done and what want to do before they submit it. Your team benchmarks for now, there's only one, and that's to have your team charter done by Sunday night. Next week, when you get into the project, you'll have a couple of more items because you'll be researching material to put into your wiki page and posting that material. Once you guys agree that this is what your team charter should look like, you're good to go, and then you just type your name in. Let's take a look at the project that you'll be doing next week. So part 2 of this is organizational culture. So you have your team charter set. You already know the expectations that you have for yourself and for your team members. You've all agreed to that. So as a team, I want you to describe organizational culture. Use photos, text, cartoons, whatever you want that gets your point across. It's an easy way for you to get into understanding how team projects work. The hardest part is setting up your team charter because you have to establish those common rules ahead of time. Now, you will want to post some items into your group area so that you verify that all team members understand how to use the different tools, and nobody can say, I didn't know how to do that. The video for how to use Canvas tools is in this week's information. So if everybody's already done it and checked them out, you're good to go. But you want to make sure that everybody knows how to do those items. So when you're ready to go, you've got your team charter done. You're going to create your page using multiple resources. Google searches are awesome, so is your textbook. Please make sure that you cite whatever you find. And then your team leader will post the message in the assignment area that you're finished with your organizational culture page. And remember, within your team area, you click on Pages and Plus Page, and that will allow you to go ahead into a new page, and you can post pictures and links. Sometimes, depending upon the class, and I'm not quite sure what the settings are because they're not at my level, they must be administrator level. If you want to post a file onto the page, sometimes you have to go File and Upload New File, or Image, Upload New Image. So if something isn't working for you, you may need to do that. Same thing in the discussion board. not looking for a book. What I want you to show is that you actually understand what culture is. So a paragraph or two, some images, maybe a cartoon, maybe you ran across a video or something that just knocks it out of the park. It's a simple project. Please don't overthink. I want you to focus more on the development of your team charter than anything else, because that's what you need to understand the process of setting up. Let me know if you have questions. Thank you.